Warning, this video contains spoilers for Amazing Spider-Man 2. Also a lot of nerding out.
What's up, everybody? It's Mighty here. Today we're going to be talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2 and my thoughts on it. I didn't love it. So thanks for watching. See you guys now. I didn't love it. I think that the movie struggles from one problem in specifics that I felt a little bit of the first Amazing Spider-Man movie, not the original trilogy, the original Spider-Man trilogy, but this new Mark Webb Spider-Man movies, that there's a big dichotomy between the realistic love story between Peter and Gwen and the fantasticism of the Spider-Man part. So when we see Peter and Gwen together, it's super intimate and realistic, and I think that a lot of that came from Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone putting them together, just the chemistry that they had. It's obvious to me, like as an actor, writer, person, that the vast majority of their scenes is improv. Like, they give them a setup of, hey, like the scene when they meet back up after they had broken up to meet, like, as friends. They just give them the situation and give them a couple of plot points that they have to reach and just say, go. And that's great for them as actors, and they're both great actors. And so you get that side of it, where it's this really realistic young love story. But then when he puts on the suit and fights all these fantastical villains, it just doesn't match. And I think there's a way to do both. And I think that they did a much better job of that in the first movie. Of course, there were still plot holes in the first one, but most everything was more founded in science, whereas the original trilogy was straight up comic book. And that's what they were going for. That was... Who directed that? Sam Raimi's idea of it, was he wanted to make it like the comics. And this one has always felt a little more mature and real and more grounded. Not so far like as Nolan's Batman films, but definitely more than most of the other superhero movies that we've gotten up until this point. It's certainly more than like the Avengers, for example, or like Iron Man. Well, anyway, yeah, that doesn't matter. But I feel like it didn't work in this one. And maybe it's because they just had too much stuff going on or what. I just felt like they asked the audience to take way too many leaps of faith. Like how Electro got his powers. I don't know, he falls in a vat with a bunch of eels. Now he can control electricity. Oh, I mean, he just got the power, but an hour later he knows how to go through wires and shut all the city lights down. And, oh yeah, when he, like, goes in and out of things, he'll reappear and he just is wearing a suit now. He's just wearing an electric guy suit. Sure. Oh yeah, at the end, like how we're setting up the Sinister Six movie. Oh yeah, so it totally makes sense for Oscorp. They were absolutely working on a Vulture costume, 'cause... Like, I'll accept, to a certain extent, the armor stuff in the Jets flyer for the Green Goblin. Like, a little bit of that. But a giant fucking rhino costume? Why? That we're just supposed to be like, oh, okay, yeah, rhino costume. When in Sam Raimi's movies, sure, great. Totally, I buy that. Because it's stupid, period. Like, everything is dumb. Excuse me, everything is dumb. But in this, it cuts back and forth to Peter and Gwen, like, being all indie movie, like young romantic drama, like some bullshit you'd see like Kristen Stewart in. And then this, you know, in the next scene, he's doing all this other stuff. I don't know. They don't mesh to me. That was kind of the biggest issue that I had. And honestly, the problem that Spider-Man 3 had with having too many villains that a lot of people were afraid this movie was going to suffer from, I think they mostly did a good job of it. In part because originally people thought Paul Giamatti as the Rhino was going to be a much larger role in the film, and it obviously wasn't. He was in the beginning as the dude, Slavenkovich or whatever the Russian guy's name is, and then he comes back at the end as the Rhino to set up for Sinister Six next time. Well, I don't know if it's going to be the next Spider-Man movie, Sinister Six, or I think they're doing their own spin-off movie, which would be interesting. But that, I think, helped a lot. Although I will say that we barely got to see anything of the Green Goblin, of him actually being the Green Goblin, which, when we did see the Green Goblin, made me okay with it. Because, dear Lord, was that terrible. All of that was terrible. Like, the makeup was awful, his effects, like how he was physically, Dane DeHaan's voice that he did was embarrassing. And I mostly liked his performance. He played a very similar role in this to what he did in Chronicle, which, if you haven't seen Chronicle, you absolutely should. I got bit by a mosquito just now, apparently, because I'm swelling up like crazy. That same kind of, like, angsty, kind of dark, but still like a nice guy who slowly turns into Darth Vader type. Oh man, that would have been great if you would have played Anakin instead of Hayden Christensen. But anyway, but his Green Goblin though, yikes! I was embarrassed for him watching that, and he was only in it as Green Goblin for maybe 15 seconds, so whatever. But going back to the comic bookiness of that stuff, like Jamie Foxx he was not a human being. Like, I did not believe a sentence that he said the entire movie before he got his powers. And I also don't really care for Jamie Foxx, and I know a lot of people really do like him, but he was terrible in this. Like, people were laughing and cutting up and stuff, and he had some funny moments, sure, but that doesn't mean that he's crafting a good character. That means that they found a lot of funny bits for him to do. Those are not the same thing. I don't know. Because then when you get Andrew Garfield, who's a great Peter Parker, mostly, I never liked from the beginning of him being cool. Because he isn't. Peter Parker's not cool. And take all of this with a grain of salt, because they're allowed to do, in a general sense, they're allowed to do what they want with Spider-Man. They need to reinvent the wheel so that it's not just Sam Raimi's movies. But I feel like one of the defining characteristics of Peter Parker is that he was always searching for acceptance as Peter Parker. And when he gets these fancy new powers, he goes out and does all these amazing things, and people love him for it. He gets all of this attention that he never got as a human being. And then, he squanders it, or he gets blamed for all the bad things that happen. And that's like his struggle, is gaining acceptance, not just in school, but with the New York people. That's kind of one of his defining character traits, one of his drivers, if you will. And they kind of take that away. Like, when he walks out to get his diploma and, scoops Gwen down and plants a big one on her, and it's like, that, and everyone's like, yeah, oh, Peter Parker, he's the coolest kid in school. Like, that's so stupid. Why would I care about him when he's like that? He's a douche in these movies. Like, he is a straight up indie douchebag tool face. With this skateboard and my hoodies, and I just walk around like this. I got my, whatever that is, those beanies that, hang back, that, dudes with dreads would normally wear. Like, yeah, man, I skate. Whatever. Like, no, it's stupid. I'm gonna fix my hair. But yeah, I don't know, and I really like Andrew Garfield too, and I just don't enjoy Peter Parker in these movies. But I do love his relationship with Gwen. Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone are great together in this, and we're gonna miss Emma Stone in the next one. Because she's dead. That was absolutely the highlight of the movie to me. Because as an avid fan of the comics, I knew the story, and setting up in this with the Green Goblin and knowing that What's-Her-Face was playing Mary Jane in this, which her scenes got cut anyway, but knowing that Mary Jane was originally in the movie made it pretty obvious that they were going to kill Gwen, and I still thought there was going to be a chance where he would save her. So even as someone who's, one, jaded as hell, and two, already knows the story of this, I still thought they were going to switch it up and change it. So bravo to them on that. What else do we have? I think I talked about most of the stuff. Kind of the one thing that ruined a little bit for me, the big fight scene at the end with Electro. like the coolest part of that, where he's swinging in between the electric science thingies that just are there. Sure, whatever. When he's like swinging through and Electro's like zapping and blowing stuff up, like we saw that whole thing in the trailer already, and that was one of the highlight fight scenes of the movie. That was kind of lame, but I did really like they did it 2 or 3 different times where it kind of slows down time and you see Peter, or Spider-Man, I guess, making his decisions of how to save this certain person. I thought that was really cool because he does have those, like that spider sense or whatever, where he just makes snap decisions, snap reactions, and it's incomprehensible to normal people, to the naked eye. So I like that they kind of slowed that down and gave that to us. I love that they are setting up Sinister Six, despite the fact that the way that they justified it was dumb. I will make... Because we've seen Rhino, we know he's going to be there. We saw the Doc Ock limbs in the background. We saw the Vulture costume, so we know those 3. I also think that the guy that Dane DeHaan, his Osborn, the guy that like came in and he was like, yeah, set it up, all this kind of stuff. I think that's Mysterio. I haven't really read up. I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking that, because he's the one that appeared at the end of the first one, too, to talk to the lizard in the jail. And just, that was my initial reaction then, too. And then when they announced that who was all in this, I was like, oh, well, I guess that wasn't Mysterio, because he's not in this movie. But I still think it is. I still think that's them setting it up, and he's going to be in the Sinister Six movie or the next Spider-Man movie, which will be really interesting. If they cast the right person, since we didn't even... Did we see that guy? Maybe we did. I don't remember. But that's a really fun character, because they can go a million. There have been like 6 different Mysterios, so they could do whatever they want with it. Last thing, a lot of people were freaking out when they had the X-Men trailer in the credits of that. Like, wait, X-Men's owned by Fox, so Spider-Man's owned by Sony. Are they going to cross-pollinate? Does that mean we might even eventually see Spider-Man be in Marvel's Avengers, which is owned by Disney now? Like, could they make a deal? Not going to happen. The only reason that trailer was in there is because Mark Webb, the director of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, had a contract with Fox, the owner of X-Men, to make, I think it was 3 movies with them. He made 500 Days of Summer, and then he was supposed to make 2 more, I believe. Maybe it was just 1 more or 2 more, I don't remember. But he broke that to go do the Spider-Man movies with Sony, and so that's just Sony paying the debt, giving them free advertising for X-Men. There's no crossover. It's not going to happen. And it's very obviously not going to happen since Quicksilver is in the next Avengers movie, and a different Quicksilver, played by a different actor, is in the X-Men movie. So that shit ain't going to happen either, which is a real big bummer, because the Quicksilver in the X-Men movie looks fucking terrible. He's wearing goggles and like, oh my god, it's... I can't. I'm too much of a nerd to talk about this kind of stuff. It pisses me off. But that's Amazing Spider-Man 2. Let me know what you guys thought of it. If you agree or disagree with some of my complaints, I guess I should give it a score. I don't like allotting a number to these kinds of things, but I'd put it in like, I guess I'll give it a 7. That seems fair. Because I didn't love it, and it was long, but there were enough things about it that I'm glad I saw it. It wasn't like Spider-Man 3, where I would have been better off had I never seen that movie. So, and I will just say, in terms of rankings, Spider-Man 2, best Spider-Man movie, obviously. Then I'd say Spider-Man 1, then Amazing Spider-Man 1, Amazing Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3. So, didn't love it, but Spider-Man 2 was fantastic. Spider-Man 1 is great. And then Amazing Spider-Man 1, I would have given like an 8-ish, maybe a 7.5. So this one, solid 7, I think is fair. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. And I never see movies or finish games close to when they come out, so I'm not sure I'll be doing many more reviews. But if I do, if I want to, let me know if you guys like it, because I have lots of opinions. So we'll see you guys in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Peace. I'd be a good Peter Parker. Glasses.